Okay, people, it's podcast time, and I'm already starting off not speaking English very well. So, yeah, we're Almost Agreement, almostagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com, check out what we're doing there. This weekend, so a week from today, for release date at least, is Hollaroo. So if you're not there, you're dumb. May 17th, Happy Holler, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Soapbox Derby, Street Festival, and sweet rock and roll show. So you should come check that out. almostagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Do the likes, the friends, the follows, the shares, all those things. Tell your friends about us. We're on all your major podcast providers. We've got a cool, super, double angle special guest tonight. I'm so excited to talk to him. So we're going to let this intro play through and we'll start talking. Hey, buddy. How you doing, Fran?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm okay. So anyway, special guest, as alluded to, the one and only Ryan Dillingham of the Knox County Transportation Director, who is also a very good friend of Sam and I's from high school. And I want to be careful because the Knox County and the city of Knoxville have been in the mood to fire people for running their mouth out in public. Because Carly Harrington and Knox County Schools is pretty tight on their comms. That's what they do. That's what Carly Harrington's job is to make sure they have a unified vision when people are out speaking in public. And So as we were prepping to do the show and talking back and forth and stuff like that, that was part of the conversation. And so my question to start off with Ryan Dillingham here is that something that's part of the, a known when you're working? Like once things like this start happening and people start asking questions and trying to get media stuff, does Carly and or the press department of Knox County Schools be like, hey, before you go do that, let's make sure we're on the same page?
Yeah, kind of. But at least I can only speak from my experience. And so I've done a number of, really terrible interviews with local media in the past.
Don't worry, you get another one today.
Yeah, you guys are in for a treat. I'm bad at this. But a lot of it is sort of like...
But we're bad too, so on the in and of its own space, it's good.
So we're vibing?
Yeah.
Sweet. So most of my experience has basically been like, hey, they want to talk to you about this thing. Are you ready to talk about this thing? Like, how are you going to talk about this thing? Well, that's not clear. Maybe you should think about saying it this way instead of that way. And those it's more like, again, in my experience, it's been more about prep. And, the bulk of people that work for Knox County Schools, they're there to teach or, be a custodian or whatever. Like media relations and dealing with the media is not what their job is day to day.
That makes sense. I get it.
And so a lot of it is more like, hey, this is I do school buses. So making me ready or as ready as I can be, because I get really nervous, as ready as I can be about talking in public, talking to a camera, those kinds of things.
Talking to camera is weird. I still can't get that one. Doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I have to pretend like I'm just talking to the person that's in front of me as opposed to the machine on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I first heard you a few years ago on the WOT.
Oh, yeah?
I think,
nice.
I don't know if there was a shortage at the time, but there was something going on with transportation that I was like, Ryan Dillingham. I was like,
I lost my, I would the whomever at Compass got the picture of you for their article from the beginning of this school year, owes you you owe them a few favors.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that.
You were looking like it was.
Am I looking good?
You were real good. You had the shades on. You were looking mid-distance to the sunset. It looked like the sunset in your face. It's a good picture, man. I'll say I can dig it out. I'm a member or whatever. I can go into the archives and try to dig it out and find it for you. But it was a handsome picture. Because so beating around the bush of it, it's a known. Like if you work at Knox County Schools, if you deal with Knox County Schools, comms is part of the thing that you keep an eye on. And so the assumption that I get from that is that anytime you're speaking in public, when it's being recorded, the assumption from Knox County Schools' perspective is that you're speaking on behalf of Knox County Schools.
You are at the very least, I think there is a recognition or an awareness that it is difficult for most people to, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I hope it doesn't come across as a bad way, but for most people, it's difficult to separate the person from the role. And so if you are speaking, I'm Ryan Dillingham, my job is I'm the director of transportation. I can speak as a person or I can speak as in my role, but a lot of times it's difficult to separate those two things out. So even if you are not intentionally.
So let's do this, and let's make sure we don't get you in trouble. Just go ahead and say, for the record, you're speaking as
executive director.
You're speaking.
I'm the executive director. You're right.
You're speaking as Ryan Dillingham, not the director. We can just do whatever we want after that, right?
Well, I am both. Like, I exist in both personalities. I think it's sort of inextricable. So, but I also
I
don't
agree
think,
with you. I think that's kind of the thing. It's like, it's like, to be fair, this is a test of the concept. Is that had you not been the director of transportation for Knox County Schools, the executive director, sorry Sam, make sure I say that right, the executive director of Knox County Schools Transportation, I would probably still want to have you on the show.
Well, I appreciate that
because we have past and history and stuff, and you're an interesting, cool dude. But there's probably a lot of people that you work with in your office that wouldn't do a public appearance, but for their day job.
You're probably right. Yeah.
And so, anyway, moving on. How bad is it? How bad are we looking right now for this next year's budget?
So the budget's really tight. So I
see, that's the one that I freak out at when I got to go to the city county building and stand at that little podium and talk to all the people in the horseshoe in front of me. That's the one I had to do that a couple times in the last couple of weeks, and that gets my leg shaking.
Yeah, I've had to do that a handful of times, and it is. I'm not like. I got to do a really cool thing today and present a certificate to a student that was graduating. It was like really awesome and really fulfilling and really cool. But there were 30 people in the room and I was still terrified. Like that is just like how I am wired. So as for the budget, it's a really tight budget year. And so, the overall budget of the county increased, but it increased by less than it has in years past, because there's a new funding formula that the state is using. This is, I believe, will be the third year that they're using it.
Tissa, what's up?
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
I know it. I would argue to death that between me, you, and maybe Ron McPherson, I'm probably tip top of people who understand it. Which doesn't say anything because I don't really understand it.
I was going to say, I don't either. Yeah. So you're probably better than me. I just know what the bottom line is. So
right.
We are, I don't know, we're better than a lot of our peers. Hamilton County is going through a budget fight right now down in Chattanooga where they're looking at cutting jobs. Like that's not a place where Knox County Schools is. It's just we haven't been able to add as many things, do as many things, perhaps some extra stuff, if you will. I know that's probably not the best way to describe it, but we've fully, I guess, the charge from the superintendent, because I do my department's budget, and so it is my job to figure out where we're going to spend money, how we're going to spend money on buses and transportation of different types. So the charge from the superintendent was, we want to keep as much money as close to the classroom as possible. And so that was prioritized over other things. So actually, I misspoke a minute ago because we are cutting positions. There are 23 and a half central office positions that are being eliminated in this budget. But the idea behind that is no teacher's losing a job. Nobody in a school is losing a job. These are all people in central office that their positions have been eliminated.
Right. I haven't been to the new one yet, but the old one was a mess. It was always messy down there. The old AJ building?
Yeah, it's the new building is space age. It's also it's we share the building with TVA, so you have to go through federal security in order to get in, and you have to be escorted everywhere you are.
Did you have to get a real ID?
So I haven't yet, but I have a little badge with my picture on it that allows me to scan in and out, which serves the same purpose for me.
So if I wanted to come, if I want to come visit you in your office, though, I have to have a real ID.
Actually, you know what? You are probably right. I hadn't thought about that, but you're probably right.
That's bullshit. Anyway, that's a side. That's a subject for me to complain about later. I've been complaining about real IDs for a long time already. Okay, so tight budget. How am I this is what we started with the buses, and first couple of weeks this year they're both in at Beard Middle from here, and it was 5:15 they were getting home. I have the privilege of not having anything else I have to be doing, so I just go pick them up because I don't want them to have to sit on buses or at the school and wait 30, 45 minutes for their bus to even bother leaving to get them home. How many, we got 61,000 kids estimated for next year, something like that?
Yeah, just over 60, I think, not quite 61.
And what percentage are regular bus riders?
So about 33%. So we transport about 20,000 kids every day.
That's impressive. It annoys the crap out of me because I don't know how to turn off the notifications, but I get the notifications when the buses aren't running. And that's my own.
I can tell you how.
That's my own. That's my own thing. But I mean, at the same time, I think about it regardless of of you, but just thinking about it, it's that's a lot of people to move, and that's a lot of little parts and pieces, and that's a lot of people to notify when things get weird. And like I have a lot of issues with comms out of Knox County schools for logistics stuff, but at least that one, like I get an email the day before if it's the bus is going to run late the next morning and stuff like that. And again, we don't use the buses, but I appreciate the idea. We've got some friends that live down the street that I'll get the email and his dad will text me like 5 minutes later. He's like, "Hey, can you take my kids to school tomorrow?" It's like, "Yeah, man, no problem."
Yeah, we the root cause of that, and I'm sorry you're impacted by that. I'm sorry your friend down the street is impacted by that. But the root cause is we haven't had enough school bus drivers in Knox County for the last 6 years.
Well, and that goes back to the budget conversation. I would assume, like, what is a I don't know. I like, what does it take? What does it take to get somebody to be a bus driver? I couldn't do it. I would lose my mind.
Yeah, same.
So tomorrow I've got to get up in the morning and take my now 15-year-old and 5 of his friends down to Pigeon Forge for a little like thing for his birthday, and I will probably have to really, really bite hard on my cheek a little bit to not kill one of them. And I'm thinking, 65? Some of the bigger buses hold.
So our biggest buses hold 90.
90, yeah. Nope. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying. Like if you had to pick a number, I couldn't. I don't know if I could pick a number to do that.
Yeah, I've only got one, and she's hard enough for me to manage. So I'm right there with you. So there are a lot of reasons. I don't know. I'm probably going to talk for a minute, Seth. So if you need to like shut me down, like, please do so.
No, this is what's interesting. This is why it's fun to have you.
So this is it's a at least in my mind, it's a complicated thing. So Knox County is indicative of a larger nationwide CDL driver shortage. It's not just school bus drivers. It is people with CDLs. There are fewer of them than there are jobs for people with CDLs. So most of the districts that I'm aware of, both in this state and in neighboring states, are in some version of the same thing that we are. Like they don't have enough drivers to go around.
You might hear pretty soon these tariffs hit hard enough that all these truckers are going to be moving less stuff around. You might have a surplus of drivers that you don't have budget for, but whatever.
Yeah, that's true. So we have, actually we technically do have budget for it, but we can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
So technically, we're a microcosm of a larger problem. Part of the reason that bus drivers are particularly hit hard is because traditionally bus driving has been a part-time job. And so it is like your average bus driver right now is probably making between $24,000 and $30,000 a year. And so there's not a whole lot of people I know that can easily make ends meet and raise a family on that amount of money. There's some offsetting things. It's a split shift job. So you're usually working between 3 and 4 hours in the morning, 3 and 4 hours in the evening. For us, that generally is more in the 2 to 3 hour range, but it depends, with time in between. So like you could theoretically go do something in between.
Go work lunch at McDonald's and then
exactly.
Park your bus somewhere and then you go find it.
Yeah. We have lots of people that do that, like that'll go work retail or something like that. And they'll just drive their bus to where their job is and leave it in the parking lot and, work 4 hours and then come back out and drive kids home in the afternoons.
I think actually, you might know the answer to this. I think one of the drivers that does some of the Beard and Middle routes does part-time lunch cafeteria work there.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he'll go, he or she, I don't know who it is, will go run the bus and then it ends up in the parking lot of the school and they go in and just set up lunch and get through lunch, clean up after lunch, and then pull the bus back around to the front and pick them up.
Yep. So it is but as you well know, like even working 4 hours somewhere else or working part-time in the lunchroom, like you're kind of trying to shoehorn two things together. It's difficult to make it's a job. It's not a career is how I often think about it. Yeah. So it only works for certain types of people. And those people are generally like, they're not relying on just bus driving income to make it. So we have a lot of retirees, for example, that want to be bus drivers, or that are bus drivers, I guess I should say. But because of that, like the hourly pay is not bad. And it's, I guess, backing up, Knox County Schools, we contract all of our bus service. So we have right now it's 56 individual contractors operating 360 buses. So our largest contractor has 31. So we have a lot of mom and pops, like people that own one bus and they drive it themselves, or they own 2 buses and it's like them and their husband that drive the buses. And we have probably 5 contractors that have more than 20 buses. So it's very much we are varied, but it's a difficult. I guess one of my long-term goals in this role, and you guys have known me for a long time, like I'm an idealist and a romantic at heart. So like I think about like, what can we do how can we make this better? Yeah. And so like one of the things that I like to think of is I want to turn it into a career. I want to pay people a living wage. I want to pay them enough that they can do this as just their job. And we can, I believe in you train people up where they can specialize. We can like come and work for us for longer. And we'll give you specialized training. We'll teach you how to do this thing and that thing over there. And like, because people are they're the great equalizer. Like if you have good people, you can do lots of stuff. If you don't have very good people, then you're going to struggle. And so there are a lot of things that just make driving a bus kind of a tough fit. But as we started this conversation with, as you alluded to, like the number one of those is pay. And so I don't control, since we are a contracted system, I don't pay drivers directly. Like Knox County Schools has no input on what a bus driver makes. We pay a contractor a rate for providing a driver a bus and the service that we ask of them. And then how they divvy that out, how they pay their bills, how they pay their, the note on their bus, the gas that goes, or the diesel that goes in it by and large, so on and so forth, is up to them. So when we're trying to, raise driver pay in hopes that will attract more people interested in being drivers, like the lever we have to use is pretty long. It's trying to, you're trying to swat a fly with a sledgehammer, because the best thing that we can do is say, like, contractor, I'm giving you more money. Please use it how I'd like you to. Right. But I have no like legal means to make them do so.
Right.
It could be like, hey, a little bit more money in my pocket.
Yeah. Right.
And my driver will be none the wiser.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'd be curious how many of the drivers pay attention. I'm sure they catch it.
Depends on how close you are to the person at the top of the
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Business.
I think if they came, if the new budget comes out and like, part of the conversation that goes through the local media as sparse as it can be from time to time is there's a section of the budget that's a significant increase in transportation fees or transportation contracts.
Right, but that gets divvied out across, what you said, 50, 60 different contractors?
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't think it's itemized.
If I'm a driver, though, if I heard that, I'd be like, oh, okay, we're getting raises.
Possibly.
That would be my thought. If I was working for a guy, I'd be like, we get a bigger contract? Where to go? You didn't hire any more drivers. You didn't buy me a new bus. Pay me.
Well, hopefully they would try to follow what's going on with something that affects them, but I would say they're probably like most people and aren't able to keep up with what's going on locally, let alone governmentally wise.
Right. I agree. What did we made a note to come back to, and I forgot it already.
Oh crap! I did too. I'm even the one that said it. Let me come back to that.
how we pay drivers budget. It was whatever. Anyway, okay. So we're as a system we're where we can be. Is kind of the synopsis I think we get to.
Yeah, pretty much.
with what the superintendent's allowing for budget. With what it actually costs to get and what these contracts are. So the question I have is how viable if one of these 50-something contractors we got, if we just said, okay, you know what, we're not, we don't need your contract anymore. What else do they do with their time? Just the evil capitalist in me is like, I feel like there's some good leverage here for Knox County Schools on these conversations. Now you can't legally make them, but you can be like, hey, you're going to pay your drivers more so they're happier in their jobs. And we can attract more drivers to the industry, or I'm not renewing your contract.
So the way we've gone about it in the past is kind of stuff that you've mentioned earlier in the show. We have let it be known far and wide that we are giving contractors a raise with the idea that they give their drivers a raise. So trying to put some, and I don't want this to. There are a lot of people that their jumping off point is like, you're running a for-profit business off of like taking kids to and from school. Like that's kind of shitty. But that's not like, our contractors are good people trying to do the right things in the right ways. So I don't want this to I don't want this to come off as like they're evil people. They're not, but they did get into this. They're not running a nonprofit. And so I think that there's there's a tension there, but there's also a give and a take and an understanding of what that is.
Sam and I have been arguing about this forever. Like, there's a lot of nonprofits that are there to make money. Like,
yes,
we could like that. I hate that argument. Like, I have a fundamental issue. The more I think about it, that I don't understand nonprofits and how they exist in the first place. It doesn't make any sense to me. They're all for profit at some level. They're either taking donations for what they do, but they got to pay for what they're doing, and they got to pay people to do the work at some level. They get some volunteers. It just feels scammy to me all the time. So, I don't know. I'm hateful that way. I don't know. Sam, school buses?
Well, I know I've seen, I guess, I don't know when they started, there's some buses that are equipped with, I guess, cameras. I've seen, labels on the back, like this camera is equipped with, I guess they're trying to find people that are blowing past the stop sign and whatnot.
Well, is
that contractor, I guess, is it up to them if they want to, or does the school system say, hey, is this more like a pilot program at this stage?
Well, so we have looked at stop sign cameras, because I don't know, that's one of the things that it's a thing I worry about. Let me put it that way. So we participate in a national survey of, so I guess jumping off point, you're supposed to stop when a bus puts out a stop sign, unless
there's a question to
it.
Unless there is a solid median.
Exactly right.
That's all. That's the only exception. If there is a solid median, not a suicide lane like we have over in Knoxville, it has to be at least a concrete curb and something before another curb, and then the other direction traffic. Whether it's a full wall like on the interstate, or whether it's grass and some trees, that's your only excuse not to stop. Doesn't matter.
Yep, has to be.
I've gotten in like I don't road rage a lot, but I've had a couple recently. One with an emergency vehicle, one with a school bus, where I was up on Emory, up in North Knox. Emory's 2 lanes both way, big old suicide lane down the middle, no solid median. School bus stopped, and I stopped going the other direction, and this guy was laying on the horn behind me. It's like, okay, and then 2 people fly around me because I was in the right lane, like I was in the far right lane, furthest away you could be from the bus. It's like, this is what you're supposed to do here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Even like we have one of the spots we have a lot of trouble with is the old long drugstore spot on Kingston Pike down near Bearden, I guess. And Kingston Pike's 5 lanes wide there. It's 2 lanes in either direction with a turn lane in the middle. You're supposed to stop across the breadth of that. So like the bus stops in the far right lane, there's supposed to be 5 stopped lanes of traffic. But yeah, people don't do that. So we participate in an effort to like raise awareness and try to get some things changed with the laws. We participate in a national survey every year about school buses running or people running school bus stop signs. And so that functionally, that's just every time it happens on a given day, we ask our drivers to radio in and let us know about it. So this was 2 weeks ago on Tuesday. We had 67 instances in a single day. So we have 177 days of school. You do that math, it's just under 12,000 times a year people are ignoring stop signs and running them. And that is the time when kids are the most dangerous, because when the stop sign is out, that means kids are getting onto or off of the bus. And so there have been numerous times in other states where students have been struck and killed by people ignoring the stop signs. And so it's just, with it that prevalent, it's just, I don't know, it's unconscionable to me.
Right. And that's the only thing to me, like that, like the only argument left for daylight savings is that specific thing in the mornings too, to me. Like that's the only time, like all the other reasons for daylight savings make zero sense to me. But when it gets into the later portion of fall before fall back, and it is dark.
Yeah.
At 7:30 when all the kids are moving around, and we're like, we were over here at Rocky Hill, and so we walked up there. It wasn't that big a deal, but still we're walking across Moreau, which is not a not busy street, especially on weekdays. And it's dark.
Yeah.
And that scared me, and I was always walking with them.
Yeah.
But there's some other kids that they walk by themselves, and it's like, oh my god, I freak out a little bit every time.
Yeah. So we haven't. So we've looked at some of the idea behind the cameras is that it's similar to how the red light cameras worked. So it would be like, filming people as they blow through a stop sign and then turning that over to law enforcement. So we've looked at some, haven't settled on anything. It's not a thing that our buses have at this point. So the stickers you're talking about, Sam, we equip every bus that runs for us with internal cameras, GPSs, and radios. So the cameras are basically like they're on the kids. We use them partly for disciplinary things, but also just one's on the driver to make sure that the driver is doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, it's not like necessarily in a Big Brother kind of way, but it's, I don't know, that's an adult that's in charge of, as we talked about earlier, 60, 70, 80, 90 other humans. So we need to make sure that, if they need some retraining on something, or if they're not doing this skill right, that we have some recourse and say, oh, let us help you get better at this. Or God forbid something bad does happen, that we have a record of that.
Yeah.
So that's that's what most of the filming in progress. The other thing that happens is most of our contractors buy buses on the secondary market. So buses have a lifespan. Like in Tennessee, you can run a bus for 15 years. Other states have lower numbers or a less amount of time. And so like in Pennsylvania, let's say that they can only run their buses 10 years. So I have a lot of contractors that will go up and buy a 10-year-old bus in Pennsylvania, bring it back down to Tennessee and run it for, if they get the right kind of bus with a low enough mileage and they do the right things, they can actually run it for 18 years. So they'll go up and get buses from other places, bring them in here. And so some of those stickers are, they just didn't take it off from the original owner. So,
but it's actual state statute. Do we have a 15-year limit on buses?
Yep. Huh. Well, it's 15 minutes. So little buses are by and large Type A buses. Those are 15 years and done. So for big buses are generally speaking Type C and Type D. Type C is the traditional school bus with a hood on the front of it. Type D is a transit bus. So it looks like a box rolling down. It looks like a cat bus.
That's the 90-person bus?
Exactly. That's the 90-passenger. So for those two types of buses, you can go what the state calls into extension. So go past 15 years as long as you get it inspected by the state more often, pay a fee, and you have to be under 200,000 miles for the bus.
Wow. Do our buses have the arm that swings out in the front?
They do now. So older bus, that was not required until 2010, I think. And because of the lifespan, I guess, for lack of a better term, of a bus, we had some buses that got brought in before 2010, so they didn't have that piece of equipment. But now every bus is required to have it. So I think every big bus does. No, I think every bus does at this point. Don't quote me on that. It's a weird thing to say on an audio medium, but
I remember seeing it in Georgia years ago.
We don't have to. You just did.
Kind of thinking back when I was riding the bus in middle school and high school, I was like, I don't think we had the swinging arms.
Yep, we didn't.
Oh, I remember walking straight in, right in front of the bus. When I got off the bus,
that's what those things are supposed to be there for, to stop you from doing that.
I was in arm's reach of I could give a high five to the bus driver through the windshield out close I was walking to this thing. But I remember just the only bus story. There's two bus stories I've got from my youth. I got stabbed in the eye by a girl on accident. This was in Florida. She was walking down the aisle, and I guess the bus driver was ready to leave. I don't know exactly what was happening. She was walking down the aisle, sitting in the seat, and the bus lurched forward a little bit, and she slipped and put her pinky nail right in my eyeball. Actually scratched my cornea. Had to go to the doctor and then do some goo for a while.
Oh.
And then that was in Florida, so that was pre-third grade. So that was kindergarten, first grade, second grade for me. And then when I lived in Wisconsin for a while, one of the kids, this has been my middle school bus, one of the kids was flipping off people from the back seat that were behind us or whatever, and some guy took offense. And when we came up to a stop to let some people off, this guy jumps out of his car, comes running up the side of the bus, hey! Slamming the side of the bus as he's coming up, and the bus driver's like, what are you doing, man? Get out of here.
Kid flipped me off.
Yeah, a freaking middle schooler, man. Grow up. What are you doing? Because it's one of those get stuck in my memory. I remember that to this day. It's just such a weird thing to get crazy on. Speaking of Wisconsin, this out of bus news or Knox County transportation news. That something heck. What is it called? I'm going to have to
Green Heck.
Yeah, Green Heck is bought the whole business park over there in East Knoxville.
300 some acres, right?
Yeah, it's a big one. Doing some stuff with Carter. They got a program with Carter Tools. They're a refrigeration. They do refrigeration systems and stuff like that. So it's a whole big plant where they're going to be building and assembling refrigerators and other and or air compressors for your yard. I don't know exactly what they make, but I almost I was real close to texting Scott this morning and be like, I think you got a typo, guys. Green Heck? Is this for real?
Yeah.
But it was three more times in the article it mentioned it, and I was like, typos happen, but four seems unlikely, and so I let that one. I let it go, and when he came in today when we did his show, he was. I was like, is that actually Green Heck? I was like, I'm from Wisconsin, and we're weird. Don't get me wrong, but that's a very random name.
Water bubblers.
Yeah, bubblers and. Come go with. That was the one that my mom always thought was interesting that all my friends said.
Come go with?
Yeah. It's like, hey, we're going to the mall. Come go with. That's a way to invite somebody to whatever you're doing.
Yeah, never heard that.
Yeah. That's what all my friends said. And my mom's always thought it was the funniest thing ever because, we didn't spend it we had that 5-year stint when we were there. But prior to that, that was the only time we were there. And so it's a weird one.
I thought your mom had a hint of an accent. Maybe it was something else I was hearing.
Oh.
Maybe it was just in my head that I assumed since you guys came from up north.
The Middle Eastern, or the Middle Eastern, the Midwesterner in me says the Midwestern accent is the lack thereof. It's all y'all down here with Yoon's accent that you're hearing my lack of drawl.
That's probably what it is. You don't sound like us. You sound funny.
You ain't sound like me.
You don't talk right, boy. Well, how did you get started with Knox County Schools?
By accident.
Like any good job?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know anybody who like sought a job out and then ended up really liking it.
Yeah. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. Y'all can vouch for the fact that I'm a giant nerd from way back. So, like, you know, my original plan for my life was I was going to get a degree in history and go like become a college history professor. So I went.
You had a like an elbow patch jacket when we were in high school. If I
recall. I was basically born in one. Yeah. I still wear cardigans.
Your mom still over here, by the way?
Yeah, she still lives in the same spot.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, I'll actually be over here Sunday. So, seeing her for Mom's Day.
Fair enough.
But, yeah, so like I get a degree in history from UT. I go to grad school for 3 years, and I'm like, you know what? 13th century English monumental architecture is where it's at. This is my path. Then I realized it wasn't, that I am not good at the type of politics that is necessary to play to succeed in academia. And so I very slowly learned my lesson. So, but after I graduated from UT, I took a year off before I started graduate school. And so I was a janitor at Kohl's. And then my dad hooked me up with another part-time job answering phones in the transportation department. And so for like a year, I just worked these two jobs. Actually it was like 9 months, because after 9 months, it finally sank in that like making $7.25 for cleaning toilets was not as good as making $10.15 for answering phones. So I quit the job at Kohl's. Yeah. And so after I realized that grad school, I still worked at the school system throughout grad school. After I realized that was not my thing, I just basically started picking up more hours there. And then they hired me on full time. And so my first job was I was the special education router for Knox County Schools. So I did all of the routing and scheduling for all of the special needs students in the district. So I did that for, I think it was 6 years, something like that. And then I was promoted and became the operations manager, which that's the guy that's in charge of all the equipment I mentioned a minute ago, the GPS, the radios, the cameras on buses. Mm-hmm. We have about like $1.2 million worth of stuff on buses. So we need somebody to there's we have 350 buses that run, but there are 425 pieces of equipment because people have spares. So like making sure that we have a handle on where that goes, how it's being handled, that it gets repaired as necessary, so on and so forth. So I had that job for a minute. And then the director of transportation retired, and I put in for it. And I guess, it was 6 years in December. I got the directorship. So
heck yeah.
Yeah. So, from the time I was 7, I was like, I want to do history. And so now, of course, I do school buses because that's how life works.
Well, which is like, it's really funny because when I got to UT, I was an ed major, and that didn't last very long. I learned really quickly that it was going to be primary education. I wanted to be a band director. Ken Jarnigan changed my life. I love that man. Yep. Ken Jarnigan for the win.
Good dude.
No, I don't think he was though. Like in hindsight, like looking back, I was talking to my mom about that. So my niece is graduating from Farragut here in a couple days or whatever, and she had a little graduation shindig, and we stopped in, and I was talking to my mom about like some different stuff like that, and I just made mention about how important band was to me, and like how, like in hindsight, like for me, Jarnigan did a lot for me personally, but like in hindsight, thinking about that man, I don't think he was a good person.
There are some things that I have learned since we left high school that makes me agree with you. But yeah, at the time, as one of his students, like I thought he was a great band director. I mean, the band was
amazing. But I think I think again in hindsight, I think it's because there was some inattention to what was going on in the room most of the time. If there was specific doing band stuff, making music and stuff like that, we were doing it. But if we didn't have something specific going on, it's like, yeah, whatever. I'm over here. I'm gonna be in the office doing whatever. And
I played a lot of Star Wars cards in band, so yeah, I would agree with that.
He became a vice principal, I think, before we left, didn't he?
Yeah.
I know. I remember like hearing like I don't remember how it came about, but I remember that was like a thing of his. He wanted to get in it. He wanted to be in administration.
Yeah, it was years ago. I think last I heard. I think he was a principal down in Alabama at some point.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I joke with my mom that he's probably dead, but I don't know that for a fact.
I think he married.
He lived hard.
He married Brandon Armstrong's mom.
I think I did hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I vaguely remember that.
Listen, people. This was the '90s, early aughts. This was not the era that we're in today. He's not grooming students' mothers to well, I don't know. Again, he's not around. I can't really. We don't have to defend him.
I think he dated a couple teachers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People there, yeah.
You know what consenting adults do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. In front of confused kids, it gets weird in hindsight. But yeah, I've got mixed feelings right now. We're zoned west in this house, which transportation director, help me understand how the school that I'm much closer to and have much easier access to. I actually know the answer to this, but is not the school I'm zoned for.
It's basically because population distribution is not even across the county. So,
it's my parents' neighborhood's fault, and all that stuff over there on that side of Ebenezer and how packed they're in that eats up all of Bearden's population.
Yeah, I mean, my old house when I lived when we went to Bearden is now zoned west.
Yeah.
So like
Sam's mom's house is the same way.
Yeah. So when we built, when they built, because I worked there, but I was not in any. I couldn't do anything. I just did little buses at the time. When Hardin Valley Academy was built, there was a round robin rezoning of high schools, and it was basically put kids in Hardin Valley and then shift other kids in. We have 14 high schools. I think 11 of them were touched during that rezoning, and so it shifted lots of zone lines around.
Yeah, because a whole bunch of kids that were west ended up at like Fulton or something like that, because like the east side of the West District shifted over into Fulton so that the West District could push further west. Yeah,
it's basically, Hardin Valley is obviously on the western end of the county, so it sort of sucked things toward Hardin Valley because you split part of Farragut off and mostly Carnes off to make that school. So then you got to put some kids back in Farragut and back in Carnes, which means you essentially are pulling east to west all the way across.
Wait, can we all stop playing so we reset the song?
I had a joke there, and it was probably inappropriate, so
I
lost it.
I had kids, they got swept up in that when Hardin Valley Elementary was there. They were already going there. Then they had the whole redistricting. And I can't remember whatever the elementary school is at the end of Lovell and Cedar Bluff. That's what they got rezoned for.
Ball camp,
yeah. And my ex-wife had to fight tooth and nail to get an exemption to keep them in Hardin Valley Elementary for a little bit.
Well, that was a funny story. When I moved down here, my parents had bought the house, and it was not finished yet. And so my dad had been down here for a year before we were even ready to move in an apartment right up there, which would have been Carnes?
Probably, yeah.
And so we get here, and I it's probably my mom's fault in hindsight. Now, like thinking back about how paperwork works, is she probably put the current mailing address because that was the apartment we were in, filling out paperwork. And they're like, no, he's zoned for Carnes. It's like, no, this is our house over here. It's definitely zoned for Bearden. They're like, yeah, but he's got to go to Carnes because you're living here. It's like, no. And like again, tooth and nail. My mom had to like she had a pitch fit. My mom, I tell stories all the time. My mom's cussed like 3 times in front of me in her entire life, and that might have been one of them. But
as I said, there is a way to get transferred as long as there is availability at that school.
Yep.
You just got to put in a little hard work.
Yeah, I remember. You explained that to me like I disagree with you. You did that to me last week too. I told you I was going to my oldest was like a bunch of because of the way the zoning lines up. A bunch of my oldest friends are going to Bearden. He was kind of making an ovation that he might want that, and I was like, well, I need a decision. But I reached out to Cat Bike, and then I reached out to a couple other school board people I know, as well as one of them sent me the link to whatever to go fill out the paperwork for the request. And then when I got that, I went to him. I was like, how serious are we? He's like, yeah, West is cool. It's like, okay, thanks. I'm out here spending political capital trying to get you what you want, and then you don't actually want it.
I just keep getting hung up on the voucher thing. It's like, we need school choice. I'm like, that's why I keep mentioning it. There is choice. You have the ability to.
No, you don't. That's not a fair. You don't.
Not 100%, but
I mean, I think
I'll
be curious to see as the academies start getting more solidified, if some of that starts happening more when you have a student who is particularly interested in an academy that their zone school isn't in. Maybe, but I don't know. Like short of like some specific about some school, it's just like realistically, what's the difference in Bearden and West? Like functionally,
Yeah,
I mean,
they're both really good schools.
At this point, West has got a better football team. That's about all I know between the two. I've heard rumor or whatever that when the '08 crash and all that kind of crap happened, a bunch of CAK families piled into West because they couldn't afford the full tuition anymore, and so they spent a bunch of money in the PTA over there, and so West got a good influx of outside cash from prior private school families.
I think Bearden had a couple decent years. I think I may have heard in passing in the past maybe 10 years or so.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure I could ask now that I know the new coaches and stuff like that. I could ask, but I mean, I know of some Bearden alums that played in the NFL. I don't know of any West alums that played in the NFL.
They're probably out there.
Only two, and the least important position in all of football. But they still made it. They made it to the big show, so that is a win.
They had long and storied careers
Yeah,
too.
did.
Made lots and lots of money out of it.
Very, very good.
That's what I always thought was crazy. You hear about like Alcoa and Maryville that have been like state powerhouses for years. So it's weird to think about high schoolers transferring to specific high schools.
Well, I mean, I know some of the private schools will do scholarships for athletes in the high school level.
Damn.
Yeah, like their sport booster programs will pay tuition for a kid to come play or to come be a student there so they can play on the team. But then the whole, like the TSSAA with the private schools is a whole nother ball of wax. Like they fit into all sorts of weird categories. Like it's like there's a whole bunch. It's a whole different animal as far as
I don't understand that. Like 1A, AAA.
Right. There's where they get siphoned into because like I think the generic term is just the size, the school size. It's like the total the bigger the population of the school, the more likely you're going to have access to more athletes, which should theoretically make you a better school in sports. And so like Science Hill up the road here is always a big one because Science Hill is like one of two in the entire county up there or something like that. It's a small school district, and like almost every kid goes to Science Hill in that county, and so they have a huge pool of students. And if any of their population is athletic, they all play. They're all on the same team. Where Knox County, we got. What did you say, 13? 14 high schools. And so, we got all these kids from all across the county that have different levels and skill sets and stuff like that get spread all over the county. And so I know that's the generic of the TSSAA is it's literally school population. So like, because it's Maryville is the same way. Maryville is one of three.
I think it's 3. Yeah.
And so it's a pretty substantially sized county, but they've not added schools. They've just added size to the schools they have.
They also have open zoning, so you can freely transfer to, like if you're a football player and you want to go to Maryville and you want to go to Alcoa, like you can just transfer in. There are very loose rules around doing that.
Yes, I always thought it was kind of like the Premier League in soccer that like, if you did well enough, they pretty much like, all right, we're tired of you kicking everybody's butt. We're going to put you in the next higher league.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think it's just
I was incorrectly thinking that.
Your total student population is 1,000. You're going to this one. Your total student population is over 5,000. You're in that one, and so on and so forth. I believe that's how it mainly is. But like the point of that is like, but the private schools they get assigned all sorts of weird stuff because they don't do it by school size because they, generally speaking, have outsized talent in their population as a percentage of their population. CAK has more quote Division I athletes for a high school, whatever. I don't know what the terminology I'm trying to put out here per capita than any other high school in Knox County.
Yeah.
So even though they're under, I think what CAK is like 1,800 total.
It's something like that. It's not that big.
Yeah. Like, and they would be in one of the smallest classes in normal state sports. But since they're a private school and since they attract the talent that way, the state lets them play with the state schools, but puts them in the higher divisions. Random things I know.
Football.
Yep. The National Endowment for the Arts took their money away from Big Ears this week.
Did read that, yeah.
I don't know. It's $2,500 on a $1.2 million budget that they do for Big Ears. It's not nothing. Don't get me wrong, but it's also not going to do anything to. Like, will there be a substantial change to Big Ears for this?
I think it was coming from a different fund, but I saw like Iams Nature Center just got like it might have been like $45,000 or something. I thought it was near like almost the same dollar amount that I saw was getting taken away from Big Ears. That Iams Nature Center announced that they were getting this grant to like update their walking trails, etc.
It's just such a mess. Like, I don't know. It's just a mess. Like,
I don't know if Knox County signed on to it, but the state signed or Well, if it came from the state or it was the county, about $1,000, I guess, bonus to teachers based on performance. I want to say the state may have put that in, but it was up to the county if they wanted to sign on to it.
There are a couple of different things. So yes, they basically, so performance pay used to exist like 6 or 8 years ago. Performance pay existed, and then I don't remember if it was a law. I assume since they changed the law, there was a law outlawing it. But regardless, performance pay for teachers went away. And so there was a law passed this past legislative session that basically opened the door for that again. It's not mandatory, but basically, you can do this if you want to do it.
Right. But it's coming out of your budget, not
exactly,
the state's.
Yeah, the state's not giving you anything. And then, but the thing that the school board did pass is in the voucher bill, there was a clause that essentially said,
take your blood money, teachers. Just take it.
Yes.
Do you guys get that in the front office?
No. It is. There's a definition of a teacher in the. Well, I guess some people do. If you meet the definition of a teacher that's contained in the law. So, like, I am not. There's a distinction with most of our employees: classified and certified. Certified meaning you have a teaching degree. Classified meaning you don't. So, like, I'm classified.
You have a teaching degree, or you have a license for the state?
It's you. No, that's a good point. It's probably a license from the state. Although you still can be considered certified even if you let your license lapse. Like if you move into administrative role or whatever, and you don't need to be a licensed English teacher any longer because now you're a whatever.
Right. You don't get you don't renew your license at the end of the
year. But I think you're still counted as certified for our purposes. Anyway, so yeah, like basically $2,000 for every teacher in your district. All the school board had to do was pass a resolution saying we would like $2,000 for every teacher in our district. So
that's not true. That's not true at all. They had to pass a resolution saying that they agree with the idea of the vouchers.
So that's what I thought as well. But I read the resolution that we passed, and it's not that. And then I went back and read the law, and it's because I thought it was basically if you pass vouchers, if you say that you're into vouchers, we'll give you this $2,000 apiece. Apparently, that particular carrot was for the lawmakers in Nashville. Once it gets down to this point, it's just you have to pass a resolution saying you want the money.
Yeah, okay.
Because the vouchers are essentially like it's state law. Whether you want to like opt in or not, it doesn't matter. It's in state law at this point.
Right, but I always took it as that was penciled in there in the bill to make it for people who get questions are running this next cycle or whatever, getting questions about it, can go look. Your school district wanted it.
I think so. That was my original thought as well. I think the way that, I guess this is my personal opinion, but I think the way that it played out is this is part of the negotiation on the front end as opposed to helping them on the back end with re-election. It's, look, you can do something for your teachers right now who we all know don't get paid enough. So if you a yes vote gets more money in your teachers' pockets like immediately.
I see what you. I get you. Yeah, that sounds about the right level of dirt. See, this is where I'm afraid I'll start getting in trouble because I'm going to start talking shit about the state, and you're a state employee.
I'm technically a county employee.
You're a state employee.
So I'm not. I'm technically a county employee, but it doesn't. It also like you can also express whatever opinions you want, and I can express whatever opinions I want within certain bounds. So like, there's stuff that we're going to talk about that I'm happy to talk about as a person that I'm probably not going to do on this microphone, but I'm going to do my best to not let you get me in trouble, Seth. Let me put it that way.
I don't want to get anybody fired.
Yeah.
Well, not in this room currently, at least. There are people that I've had in that. There are people that I've had in that chair that I have wanted to get fired. Problem is, to get them fired is a recall election, and that's really fucking hard to do.
We are under the TISA program. For some reason, I was thinking we started going away from it.
No, the TISA is the new one. I can't. I already deleted the acronym for the old one from my brain because I figured that one out too, and that one was worse. Yeah. BEP, yeah.
The basic education program.
Yeah, that was the last time I had, I think last time I had McPherson on was when TISA was not enacted yet, but it was in writing, and they were voting on it and doing all that kind of crap, which I tried to get him to go on record saying, this is just them prepping for vouchers, right? And I don't remember how he dodged it, but he dodged it pretty well. Because, it's exactly what that was. Like, it was just prepping for vouchers. They're just trying to get the paperwork in place. The question I have, like, it's still trying to understand the TISA part of it. It's like, so if we're giving $7,000 a kid in vouchers, is the state paying $7,000 a kid for kids that are in Knox County schools?
So
I don't think we are. I don't think TISA gets it there because Knox County's paying a ton because we still have the county. I can't remember. Ron told me the technical word. It's the economic something, the economic capability discount or something like that.
Something like
which
that.
Basically, which the further I've gotten into this that I didn't understand at the time when I was talking to Ron that I do understand now is that this is just another one of the fun Republican state legislature things picking on the ability for anybody to lean left in any of the major metropolitan areas. Is that if you have a major metropolitan area, they say you're more capable of making more money than these small counties. So since you're capable of making more money, we're going to send you less. And we're going to take what we don't send you and spend it on these smaller counties. I don't know that I don't know the second part of that, whether it's true or not. I don't know anybody that's in school districts in like I don't know what's like Union County or something like that. That's a significantly smaller county, not just in schools but in population. Period. If they're getting $8 or $9 grand a kid in their school systems, I'm gonna guess they're probably not. But I can't say that with any level of certainty if that's the case. But that's the argument at least. Which is really just you Democrats in your successfully economic city areas don't get money because screw you guys. Except we're in Knoxville and we're all still Republicans here, so I don't really understand that argument for Knoxville. But whatever. Well, Knoxville is, but Knoxville doesn't have schools. Knox County does.
Yeah, I think if I'm thinking back to the budget document that for the budget that the school board just passed, I think like 45% of the $700 million is from the state. And the rest of it is from like local sources and some federal money and so on and so forth. Right.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not. We were talking about this last week. This would be a good Ron question for sure. When the city of Knoxville dropped their school system and let Knox County take the whole thing over, part of that they wrote into the city charter that 67% or whatever of their sales tax collection automatically goes to Knox County schools. Do you know how that sits on the ledger? So in that 45%, 20% of that is from the city of Knoxville? Or 20% of the 55 left over is from the city of Knoxville or something like that?
So they don't... So it's in the budget because like it specifically, at least in the last 2 years, there's been a specific line item that says like local sales tax or local option sales tax and so on and so forth. It's not broken down what's in the city and what's in the county because in everywhere except the town of Farragut, it's like... It's 67%.
Farragut sucks. So just Farragut doesn't pay as much as the rest of us for schools. Everybody, if you didn't know it, you know it again. We've talked about it before.
They pay the state minimum because they were able to opt out of that. But the rest of the county pays whatever that like 67% of every dollar on sales tax.
Yeah, goes to schools. Mm-hmm. And to me, like if we get down to the real brass tacks of that one too, though, it's like 85% of the total sales tax collected in Knox County is in the city limits of Knoxville. Because of the way old Victor Ashe went finger annexing crazy on us.
I did not know that, but that makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, I can totally see that.
All the way down North Shore? So like the McDonald's that he and I used to work at?
Yeah.
And it's late night with Dave. Holy shit, that's all. That brings us back. That Wendy's down there, which is gone now, but that Wendy's that was there and that Kroger and stuff, that's the city of Knoxville. Goes all the way down there. Because we had this big flooding thing out here at Ebenezer, which I'm sure was a headache for you, trying to figure out how to get kids in and out of some of those neighborhoods back in there. And I was talking to who was it? I can't remember.
Look at me.
I'm blanking out on my former commissioner, the trash can guy, Ward.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to Kyle Ward when we were talking about it, and he's like, it's a nightmare because North Shore is a state road. Everything that touches North Shore is city of Knoxville. Everything that doesn't touch but feeds into is Knox County. And so like Ebenezer Lake is a county lake. It's not a city lake. It's not a state lake. And so trying to figure out how to do some plumbing on that lake to try to get some of that extra water out of there has to cross state and city properties if the county is going to take the whole thing on. And so really what it was is they couldn't, like, it was just a money conversation.
Like,
City of Knoxville,
you do it.
City of Knoxville is not going to pay for it because it's like, well, how's this? This doesn't really affect us. And then Knox County is like, well, it affects us, but we're not going to pay for it on our own. And the state's like, well, so we don't care at all.
Tag, you're it.
Like it's like North Shore is I mean, I would be curious the traffic numbers North Shore puts out. It's a lot. There's a lot of cars.
It's gone up.
Yep. So all right. So here's back to buses and stuff. I would like to get a survey question to all your bus drivers about their thoughts on the roundabouts popping up here in and around town.
Love them or hate them.
They are firmly in the hate category, like without question, without a doubt. I don't need to ask. Yeah, That's a frequent topic of conversation, particularly because they're propping up. Well, I guess this is not as much true anymore, but when they started appearing, it was mainly in the western part of the county, and people just were like, "Yeah, of course, people in Farragut want roundabouts. Like a stop sign's too good for them, or not good enough for them." But yeah, now they're everywhere, and nobody likes them.
I mean,
do they hate them because they hate driving, or do they hate them because nobody else knows how to use them, so they have to be that much more careful?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
all the above. Yeah.
The one that, I like the proper ones, like the one out there in Concord. That one doesn't bother me. The one out there in Choto. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that I've gone through in the not so distant. Like some of them are dumb, but the ones in this little neighborhood back here behind the mall, they're not really roundabouts. It's just a little pylon right in the middle of the intersection. And for a bus driver, I think I'd lose my mind. Obviously, we've already talked about I could not drive a bus. The kids would already make me lose my mind. But to have to go down this street and to treat this maybe 2-foot circle in the middle of the intersection like it's an actual roundabout, because those nobody knows what to do with. Because everybody treats it like a 4-way stop. You just have to drive around it weird. And so it's like, this is dumb. Like, it's really dumb. That one bothers me a lot. But most of them don't bother me too bad. Like if they're like I said, the Concord one is good. Now that they've reset it, like the newest finish with it, like you can cruise through it pretty quick, no matter which direction you're going.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about roundabouts is if you screw up once you get in it, you can figure out and get where you need to be, even if you screw up entering it. You just go all the way around. I mean, people look at you like you're dumb, but you're in a roundabout. You're going to look dumb anyway.
Or European.
Yeah.
With the, I guess, expanding, or what I would see is more subdivisions popping up, do you get much of a leeway time as far as trying to figure out new routes? And like, okay, in 6 months, there's going to be a bunch of people that move into this house, and on average, I'll have this many kids. I'm probably going to be picked up from that area.
Does the trustee come out in some of their sweet trucks and sit down and talk to you about new properties and stuff going in?
So they don't. We have an agreement with.
Bad joke, sorry.
Went over my head
right.
too. Sorry.
Yep. No, I caught up now. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I dropped that one. You set it up. I dropped that one.
I mean, I really like Sam's the one we've talked about it like a couple times on the show. Sam's the one I expected to pick that one up. But anyway, continuing on, does whom in the city or county government comes and talks to you about some of the gross stuff and how much we're talking about in need?
So we have a partnership with Knox County Planning. And so we actually my department does annual growth projections for the school system as well. And so as part of that, we're forecasting where kids are going to move in, where we expect to see growth for the school system. But then also they give us a monthly notifier of hey, this new subdivision is being planned. We expect it to have, it's going to have this many units, and we expect this number of kids to come out of it once it's fully realized.
So does planning give you what the developer says is going to happen or what they think is actually going to happen?
So they wait until, I forget what the actual technical term. They basically wait until the developer has to say, this is my definitive plan. It's not the first thing they walk in the door with that goes before planning commission. It is once it's gone through some other iterations and they land on no, this is probably actionable. It doesn't mean that nothing can change, but the chances of it changing are lower.
Because one of the big moves that developers like to do is it's not going to impact schools. We're only putting 600 units in. This is for older people with grown kids that aren't moving in with them.
So we don't take the best I understand it, because it is planning's thing, but they don't take a developer's word for it. They look at the zoning of the property, and then they have it's not really proprietary, but it's like a software solution that they bought that is specifically for school enrollment projections. And so they okay, this number of units at this zoning and this density is going to yield how many kids through this software. Then they tweak that based on historical information for, in the last 15 years, we've seen this type of property in this part of the county yield this number of students. So do we scale the number from the program up or down or whatever? So there's some art and some science to it. But basically, my understanding of what we get from the developer is this is what your plan is and the numbers that you're thinking. And then we take it from there.
Yeah.
Numbers of
it's
houses.
Gonna get, right. And it's going to get real wonky here later this year when the big county rezone. Whenever they get their big county rezone in place. They need to hurry up.
Yes.
Because I don't want to be a city resident, but I might have to be. I want an ADU. I'm going to put an ADU in the yard. I'm trying to move my mother-in-law in. She's old. She's too old for me to wait for this thing to come through. And if I was a city resident, I could do exactly what I want to do today.
Gotcha.
And from all accounts and everybody I've talked to in the county, as far as different commissioners and stuff like that, this property will be zoned exactly like I want it to be zoned whenever they finish this thing.
Gotcha.
And so just be brief on the public hearings, people. Just say yes and deal with it. I'm not like, I don't know, like I got into a good argument with a friend of mine earlier this week about parking downtown. I'm there's a couple of topics that I have zero patience to argue with people anymore about. It's parking downtown and growth. Like there's only one solution to growth. There's only one, and you don't want that. So get on board with being proactive about growth, or make peace with things just being bad. That's the only way. Like things have to be bad for people not to want to live here. That's why people move here. It's a great place to live. Like I don't know how to explain that any other way. It's just it drives me crazy because like it seems like such a simple argument. It's like I don't like my long-term plan is to get out of Knox County. It's too much, and my plan is not to tell Knox County to not let more people move here. My plan is to be like, bye.
Yeah.
You know, I love Knoxville. I love Knox County.
Yeah. Keep letting the home value go up.
Right. You know, it's getting to be too much. Like there's too much traffic. I mean, and to get into the super, you know, Karen argument here is like, I'm tired of the fucking bumps. Rocky Hill ball fields is what is it? Lousy. That's the word that the smart people use. Lousy with bumps right now. I'm sorry, lousy with the unhoused. Maybe that's the nicer way to say it. You know, it's just like all in any pocket of trees that's thick enough. There's a tent or two or five packed in there. And I was mowing the lawn this afternoon, and there's like 3 or 4 people just walking by. That's, you know, it's fairly obvious when you see them. You know, and it's like, okay, they're not really doing anything. It's no real harm here, but it's a continual the continued growth of it is like it was not a thing that I dealt with when I moved in over here. Didn't see it at all. Maybe if I'm over here at the shopping center and stuff like that, you might have one person wandering around. But now it's continuously all day, every day, multiple people. It's just it is a growing issue, and that's a whole other political thing in play too. The city county joint venture. All right, here's one. Get me off my soapbox here. It wouldn't change anything at all if Knoxville went metro for Knox County schools.
No, I don't think it would.
Because we basically already have metro schools.
Yeah.
They just call it the county.
All right, Ryan Dillingham at Knox County Schools is on board with my metro plan people. Just got to get a few more people signed up, and we're going to make this thing happen.
All right. Yep.
I mean, I don't know. Like, it's such a funny thing. Like, every time I've talked to people about it, the politics has always been the problem. It's I don't like the city government, and if we go metro, it's going to be an expanded version of the city government. I don't like the county government. If we go metro, then the county's going to take over the whole place. And it's like, I don't really care about the politics. The logical answer here, we are at that point. And either, again, we be proactive and get on board with reality that people want to live here and are going to continue moving here and do stuff to accommodate that, or we just suffer.
Yeah.
Memphis doesn't have metro, do they? Is it just pretty much just Nashville?
No, Shelby County. It's Memphis. Memphis, Shelby County. I believe Memphis is the totality of government. I think it's almost the same as Nashville. Like Nashville has no county government. The only county offices I think they have are the sheriff's office, because the sheriff's office is an obliged office. The clerk's office, I think, is an obliged office by the state law and stuff like that. There's a bunch of like the generic offices that are obliged by state law. But like, I mean, like, I don't know if it's the same in Shelby County, but like the Davidson County Sheriff's Office, all they do is jail and serve warrants, or not serve warrants, serve papers. Yeah. They don't do any policing. They only do the detention center and process service.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Random little things, but but Nashville PD does everything else,
right?
And so it's all like, so anything in Davidson County, period, Nashville PD handles, and then some stuff outside of Davidson County because they pass county borders. I think the cities cross county borders at this point too, which I don't know how that works. That's a whole separate thing.
MNPD, Metro Nashville Police Department.
Right. Like, so one thing about Knox County that's nice is that the main growth sectors of the city of Knoxville, like county, like I can't, like, we're not going to get into Anderson County. There's a river between here and there. We're not going to get into Loudoun County. We're not going to get into Blount County. It'd only be the east and northeast direction, and that's the least populated part of Knox County, so it'll be the longest one off before we have to worry about crossing county lines with the city government. Although, another random little fact that I know, the McGee Tyson Airport is city of Knoxville property.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That
I
is
think you were telling me that,
is
and I
not
was
Blount
like,
County.
wait, huh? What?
The yes, the Knoxville airport is not in Blount County. It is in Knoxville.
I wonder if that little TAC Air is part of Knoxville, or if they consider that part of.
No.
Because it looks like it's all in the same kind of complex.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get summers off?
I do not.
Didn't think so.
Yeah.
What do your summers look like? Is that more just kind of like planning for the school year, pretty much?
There's a lot of that.
Reset.
I mean, we do post-COVID in particular. Like we're providing school and busing of some sort for basically like just over 11 months out of the year. So I quoted the numbers earlier: 350 buses a day, 20,000 kids. So in the summer, it'll be 105 buses and 4,000 kids, or something like that.
I didn't realize they did busing for summer school.
So it's relatively new.
Yeah, they started that. That was it's the new summer. No, it's not summer. What do they call it?
Summer learning camp.
Yeah, the sunny learning camps. Yeah, is that's post pandemic stuff. And I was very disappointed. We did it the first year. It was just busy work.
I think it's gotten. That's not the first time I've heard that. My understanding is it's gotten better because of that.
Right.
I have a friend. Well, Marlon, you probably remember him. Yeah. His kids go to Lots, and they've gone to summer camp or summer learning camp. And he's told me it's gotten better.
Yeah.
But they're elementary school age. So
Right. We did it. Yeah, it was 4th and 6th grade. After 4th and 6th grade. So rising 5th and 7th grader, I think is the year we did it. And it was just busy work.
The other thing is with the third grade retention law that passed before last summer, there are certain kids that are identified that must attend summer learning camp, or they get to repeat the third grade. There's some other ways around it, but that's kind of that's the big stick. Is like you didn't score well enough on these areas of this test, so you have to go to summer learning camp.
Which I mean, I think I don't know. The more I think about it, like I have issues with that stick per se, but with the way the system, with the way education is set up, if you're not at a level reading like that, because third grade, 4th grade is when they stop teaching reading. They start teaching stuff by reading stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you're not up to
comprehension
snuff,
testing.
right? If you're not up to snuff on the reading part, you get behind quickly, very quickly. I do like. Again, this has nothing to do with you and your position, but one of my I understand it, I truly do, and I think the stats bear it out that attendance is the number one factor for success. But man, I don't really like the threats. I don't like really. I'm not a big fan of getting threatened because I decided to do a thing with my kids instead of taking them to school this day or this week.
Yeah, 10 days out is the if you miss 10 days, that is I forget the exact terminology, but that's the big thing that they're worried about. But missing 10 days because you just don't come to school for whatever reason, and missing 10 days because your parents took you to Europe for 2 weeks, I understand that you're still out of school for 10 days, but
right.
those 10 days are not created.
Right. It's the problem with. I mean, it's the problem with there's with a system as large as Knox County Schools, you can't. You can't play specialty games. It's got to be some sort of metric you can put in front of it. And this is it. That's the best we came up with. 10's the number. 10 days is a problem. Don't care why.
Do they still do excused and unexcused absences, or is it just absences? Period.
It's period. I mean, you get a doctor's note because you got the flu or COVID or whatever it is, and you got to miss.
So we were in I think middle school and high school, I think there were excused and unexcused absences.
But they still, but the 10 counts whether it's excused or unexcused.
That's what I was thinking.
It's absences, period, regardless of whatever. Because this one, he gets everything, whatever the seasonal thing is, he gets it and hits it. It gets it bad, and so I don't care. I'm a dirt don't hurt kind of guy. I'm like, it's the more everybody's sick around each other, the better they're going to be long term. That's my old wives' tale, or whatever you want to call it, take on general health of people. But it's like, I get it. I try to be like I fail miserably at trying to be respectful about the fact that there are kids with immunodeficiencies and stuff like that have to run around them and stuff too. And so, it's like, I guess that's what kind of pisses me off about it. It's like the hard and fast rule of Knox County Schools is if you have a fever or if you've thrown up or have had diarrhea within 24 hours, don't go to school tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, he had diarrhea last night before he went to bed. We're not going to school tomorrow. We need a doctor's note. Why? Okay, he's been 6, 7, 8. He's getting up to that 10 days. What are we going to do about this? I'm following the rules. You know, like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do about it? Like, the rules are don't send him to school because this criteria hits. He gets sick easily. I don't know if he's contagious or not. I'm not going to the doctor for a $25, $50 copay every time he has diarrhea at 7 p.m. before he goes to bed. So how do we make this work? I don't know the answer to that. And again, like I said, I understand it from the school's perspective. It's so big, it's so massive. You got to just put a number on it and move on. But at the same time, it's so impersonal, it gets really frustrating.
And I think it's actually from the state.
The diarrhea thing?
No, the 10 days.
No.
The chronic
I really
absenteeism.
want to. I really want to find I really want to dig through the Tennessee Code Annotated and find diarrhea in there somewhere.
It might not be in that. It might be in like the Board of Education, but I'm pretty sure that it's not just Knox County. It's everywhere for everything. Like 10 days is what they've settled on.
I think they just say upset tum tum.
It's legal speak for diarrhea.
Loose stool, maybe.
Polite speak, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just, that's one of those little isms that it's just like, it just kind of grinds my gears on that front. So
I definitely skirted the fever thing a couple times when I was married. It's like, they had a fever last night. They didn't have it in the morning, but like you said, by law.
Well, again, not to put anything on the record that I don't want to put on the record, so I'll just shut up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not causing the flu outbreak. Or anything like that. All right, this is one that I thought about earlier today that I wanted to ask you about. That fucking wind day last year.
Mm-hmm.
How much did that screw your day up?
That was actually my idea.
Really?
Yeah. So
because that was going to be my question. Is there a number of wind speeds where the buses become a problem? Is that what it was?
That's exactly it.
That's
so
that's super neat.
40 mile an hour sustained straight line winds can move. So buses are high profile vehicles.
Right.
So they're a big sail going down the road. So 40 mile an hour straight line sustained winds can cause problems for buses. Gusts above 60 can also cause issues. And so that day in particular, the National Weather Service issued a high wind warning with sustained winds of 50 plus in some areas and gusts up to 80. And so after talking about it, you guys have lived in this county for a long time. You know what some of our roads look like. School buses service most of them, including roads that they're not wide enough for 2 cars to pass, or they're on the side of a hill or, a mountain. And so having a bus moved over into the opposite lane by 4 inches, whereas I drive a Honda Fit. So in my Honda Fit, it's maybe not that big of a deal, but with 40 kids on a bus, you move over 4 inches into oncoming traffic. It's a much bigger deal. And so it was discretion is the better part of valor. Let's not mess around with this. The superintendent is also very concerned about new drivers. So you have a 16-year-old that just got their license and they're driving to and from high school, and what kind of conditions are we putting them out in there? And so, that was, but the impetus for that was basically me going and talking to my boss and saying, I have some concerns about this. South Carolina has state standards for these sorts of things. And that is a South Carolina state standard for you call off school if these conditions are met. Mm-hmm. And so there are no state standards of that sort in Tennessee.
Was there something that was it days before, or was it just we didn't know until day of?
We didn't know until day of.
Okay. Because I don't remember the weather reports at all on that. I remember it just being really weird because it's what's going on?
We're kind of a weird wind area anyway.
Yeah, and then I went, because I went and picked up or whatever. It's what's going on? And I get home, by the time I got home, I was like, oh, well, this is what's going on.
It was, let me try to remember the timeline exactly. It was 9 a.m. because we get at least twice a day forecast updates from the National Weather Service in Morristown. And there's a lady in our security office who's she has a degree in emergency management. She's our emergency manager. And so she talks to the meteorologists up there, whenever we need to. And so the morning forecast came in and they were basically this storm front is moving in and it's probably going to hit mid-afternoon. So they Great Smoky Mountains also closed Newfound Gap Road and some of the other roads for the exact same reasons. They were expecting higher wind gusts in the mountains than we were expecting in the valley. But basically everybody's okay, looks like this is going to be a thing. And so the thing about school buses is so we run in 2 tiers. So elementary goes first, then middle and high school goes second. So we need approximately 3 hours from the time of all right, cool. The first kids are going home. We need about 3 hours to get everybody home. And so what we were looking at with a normal dismissal on that day is we would have a lot of the elementary school kids home, but none of the middle and high school kids, and some elementary school kids would still be on the road when they were talking about the front moving in. And so it was essentially, so if we operate from a position of, so buses might not be safe and we don't want to take that chance, it's like, okay, we got to back up at least 3 hours before when the front is forecast to move in order to make sure that we can have as many people as possible home before the bad stuff starts getting here.
Right.
So it became, it was like in the morning it was nothing. And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we need to leave by, we need to dismiss at noon.
Yeah.
And so that happened over the course of probably like an hour and a half.
I mean, again, as much as the all the alerts I get from Knox County Schools on my phone are annoying, that one did its job. I got there because again, I'm not tech dumb, obviously, but for some reason that one, because my stupid Parent Square, I get a pop up notification on my Parent Square, I get a text, and if it's at a level, I get a phone call, but I get an email for everything too. So I get 3 to 4 alerts every time something comes out of Knox County Schools to me. And if it's an emergency, it's a phone call.
Yeah, and there's a different. So every bus message my office sends, so I'm fairly familiar with how that part of Parent Square works. So there's a emergency override because as a Parent Square user, you can say I don't want to get phone calls or I don't want to get this. I only want to get things in a digest, which means you get an email at the end of the day.
Right.
But there's an emergency button that you can hit that overrides all of that. It says nope, you're getting this. And so whenever we're delaying school, calling off school, whatever, it's nope, this is important enough that everybody needs to get this as soon as we possibly can.
All right, so then that brings up to the other one. So the rule is all kids or no kids, on weather related stuff.
Mm-mm.
What's the ratio?
There isn't one. It's sort of.
So when we get into the snow day stuff, it's because I mean you always hear the conversation's always it's the backcountry kids that those buses have to get up in and out of there and stuff like that. And if we can't get the buses to them, it doesn't matter that your street's clear and the main roads are clear.
So the snow is complicated. So for example, to answer your initial question, the flooding that you brought up a few years ago, North Shore was and Cedar Bluff were closed for a week when the rest of the county was still in session because we couldn't get to those schools. We couldn't pick kids up. We couldn't do anything. So they were just out for a week and the rest of the county was open. So they have done stuff like that. During COVID, it was a little bit different. We had a lot of individual school closures during COVID, but that required a waiver from the state.
Right, but that was health stuff. That was health, not weather. Right.
Yeah. And they, you can do individual closures, but you have to get a waiver from the state. That's something the district does. But so on weather days, a lot of times it is, well, so do you want me to walk you through what that process is, or do you want me to just give you a 10,000-foot answer?
I don't know. I mean, because again, I mean, I think the standard understanding is that it's an all or none is what I always that's what I've always heard kind of is that it's Knox County schools are closed and it's I'll drive around or do whatever and it's at least the last couple of years it's been pretty freaking obvious we need to be closed or whatever. But there's certainly been plenty of times where we've had those little fluke ones that pop in and melt before 10 a.m. And it's well, nothing even settled here. Why are we out of school today? And then it's it's always well, up there in northeast Knox County where it's much more rural and stuff like that. The buses can't get in and out. And that's always been the excuse, at least, whether that's accurate or not.
So it's that's not untrue for sure. But there are a lot of times. So the things that go into it is, Knox County writ large is not really prepared for snow by design because we get one snowstorm a year. If my tax dollars were going so that we had 30 snow plows and tons of salt, I would be a little mad about that. So we're not prepared by design, and that's fine. But that means that when we get one, the effects don't go away as quickly. And so we are a big county. It's 560 square miles or whatever. Then, we drive buses all over it. So a lot of times, 2/3 of the county will be affected or, not over here, but lots over there or things like that. And so there's an element, I guess, what am I trying to say? It's not explicit that it's all or nothing. It often works out that way though, where it's this part of North Shore is going to be fine because North Shore is a state highway. It's a tier 1 road for the county. They're going to plow it. They're going to do whatever. But if you go down Duncan Road, if you go a mile off of North Shore, you get into some pretty small treacherous roads. So like even if areas are fine, it doesn't take that long in this place for us to find areas that are not. And so often it works out like, so getting into the nitty gritty, like I have a network of contractors that I call on and we do condition assessments. So I get up at 2:00 in the morning, go drive around. I have contractors that'll do the same thing. And just like, how are roads looking? Is it sticking to the roads? Are we icing over? Like what is, so we have a security team that does that. And we also work with the sheriff's office to do the same sorts of things. So eyes on the road, assessing things. How does it look? It's also like, I've been in your car plenty of times, Seth. You're a good driver. Not everybody's a good driver. Again, going back to like the 16-year-olds on the road that are trying to drive to school, they worry about that. Also, the tolerances for a commercial motor vehicle like a school bus are different than a car. So the things you're looking for, the things you're thinking about are different there. Buses are not built to... They're not all-terrain vehicles. They don't have four-wheel drive. And our jumping off point is always going to be...
And as big as they are, they're not as heavy as they should be either. I think that's one of the things about buses that I don't think about a lot, but as big as they are, they're not that heavy.
Yeah. I mean, they're 28,000 pounds plus
They're
for
really
the big
strong.
ones.
Like,
But
I've seen pictures of buses that have damn near demolished like a semi-cab.
Really?
Yeah, like you wouldn't think it, but the standard, with the full
I would just think that
full engine in the front.
Just like out of design's sake, you don't need all that. I mean, you need to be able to pull all the bodies once you have all the bodies inside, but it's like you don't need that big a... I don't know. Maybe I'm all right.
Well, they're so you're right about that. You don't, but there are like there are design standards that they're required to meet in order to be called a school bus, and like chassis strength is one of them. And like a school bus is one of the only vehicles that I'm aware of that if it rolls on its top, which is incredibly hard to do because they're designed not to roll, they'll just roll on its side, but not go all the way over. But if it does roll onto its top, the top of the bus can support the entire weight of the bus. Like it has to be strong enough to do that. So it's like steel ribs and members and stuff like that. So structurally, the bus is very stout. Usually if you see an accident involving a school bus, whatever it hit is in worse shape than the bus is.
Fair enough.
Yeah. What was your other question?
Well, we were talking about weather stuff and like just the you were talking about you were out on the eyes on the road, that kind of stuff, about trying to figure out
yeah, and so
how the decision making process comes to call for snow or ice or cold or whatever.
Yeah, so we get security people talk to we get as up to date a forecast as we can. Usually the call is made. We try to do the call the night before because it's easier for everybody if they have an idea of what their next day is going to be. Like giving somebody 2 hours notice that your day has to be radically different now is not good by any stretch of the imagination. So we try to do it the night before, and a lot of that, when you're doing it the night before, it's all based on forecasting. It's all based on this is what they're saying, this is what we think it's going to look like. And so if it's the night before, day before, whatever the case may be, we're in the same boat that a lot of people are in Knoxville. It's just like you're listening to the meteorologists and believing what they say. What I was talking about getting up early, that's when we do a call in the morning. And so that's usually a 4:30 a.m. scheduled call about, are we going to delay school? Or are we going to, call off school, whatever the case may be. And that's when we go out. And so there's been presumably a weather event that has happened between, 8 p.m. the previous day or 10 p.m. the previous day and, 3 a.m. the next day. And so what does that look like? What kind of effects has that had on the ground? What are they forecasting? What do we expect to happen from here? So on and so forth.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. I wouldn't do it. Again, good job. I appreciate that you do this job. I don't want to do
Hey,
it.
it's looking kind of iffy. Do you mind getting up at 2 a.m. and driving around
It's like, no, I got people
through some bad weather?
Call the
Let us
sheriff.
know how it's going on out there.
Get Spangler out of bed.
It's not.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the most adventurous driver in the world. I have a route that I take that gives me I think the county refers to them as like tier 2 and tier 3 roads. So I'm not going on what we, in the business call pig paths. Because that's just not who I am. Other people are doing that have better equipped. I drive a Honda Pilot, so it has all wheel drive. So but I'm not a guy that's I ain't going mudding.
Right.
So I go and I look and I do my thing, but it's not, I'm not putting myself out there to the degree that a lot of other people are.
All-wheel drive can help you get up a hill, but stopping coming down,
Yeah, exactly.
4 wheels doesn't help.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many wheel drive you got. You're going to keep going. I mean, I've had some fun in it in the last couple of years. I don't lie. But I don't know. To be fair, I have the least. I have no. It doesn't matter from here. Morel's a tier 1, Kings of Pike's a tier 1, 40's a tier 1, Emery's a tier 1. I think Central is a tier 2. North Shore is a tier 1. Anywhere that I need to go is the first to get worked on, except for my street, which is never touched. But my street is straight and flat.
Right.
And so as long as I can get out of my neighborhood, I'm fine. It doesn't matter for me. And I know that, and I respect that part of it. I like to complain about it, too.
I think the issue you run into a lot is that kind of like refreeze overnight. You know, we'll kind of have those mild temperatures.
Right. I mean, and that's the one thing that I was arguing with somebody about, like the one, I think, was it the one we had this year, where it was cold, and then it snowed. Those are a lot easier to manage than when it rains and turns into snow overnight. Because the ones that when it starts raining, you can't. There's no prep work. Because I remember, it was 2 days before that last one. TDOT was out doing 40,
doing the pre-treatment.
Yeah. 2 days before, because it was not supposed to get over 20 until the storm came through, and so it didn't matter. It's when you put all that pre-treatment on, and then it rains and it washes it all off, and it's just all going down the gutters. The gutters are fine; they run well. They run well through all this stuff.
They're ice free.
But that whole mess of things. All right, so forget all that. So all right, so no more work talk. Let's. What have you been up to for the last 20 years, other than this?
Well, I got married. I got a kid. She's 3.5 now.
Ooh, babies.
Yeah.
Fun and evil.
Yeah. I mean, she's wonderful, but it's also I've never done this before, so I'm trying to figure it out as we go, and some successes and some failures. But
they bounce, man. Just they bounce. They bounce. They're fine.
Yeah.
They one of the things. One of my favorite things to tell new parents. The 3.5 years you had plenty of this. One of the things I like to tell people about being a new parent. It's we have done this for a long time, a really long time. You're going to be okay. As a species, we got here, and we have it so much easier now, in so many ways. What was it like? I mean, it was 100 years ago that it was the death in childbirth was 1 in 8 or something like that. It's actually going back up now recently because we suck at life, but it sounded like 1 in 200 or something like that. It's some ridiculously low number now.
Yeah. And
it's I promise you're going to be okay. These things, they work. I'm not saying they won't be psychopaths. That's very possible. The internet is the worst thing that ever happened to us as we make our internet radio show. I mean, I think about that a lot. It's it's just as a parent or as an old person, whatever you want to call it. It's we played Magic. Mm-hmm. Because internet was dumb. It started to get around. We had AOL at my parents' house. Mm-hmm. I'm sure your mom had it. We had internet in your house when we were hanging out at your house and stuff like that. Yep. But we certainly were hey, let's go over to Ryan's house so we can play online.
Sure as hell not high speed.
I mean, when I was a freshman at UT was the first year the dorms had T1. So when you were at UT, it would have been the second year they had it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? My freshman year was that was the first year all the dorms had T1.
Getcha.
And that was when Napster was the shit.
Yep. I downloaded so much.
My roommate had hard drives full. Multiples. Getting new hard drives just so he could fill it back up. He had, I can't remember how many he had in the queue constantly. He had a big old desktop, and that's all it did was download music.
That was always dependent upon the other party that you were, I guess, downloading it from.
It was both. You're right. Yeah.
They could go offline I only had a quarter of the album downloaded. Thanks, asshole.
Yeah. But it would sit there in the queue, and it would either find it, that person would come back up, or it would find somebody else that had it, and it would download it from them.
Oh, it would do it too. I didn't use it very often.
Oh, I didn't I had a laptop with my huge 5 gig hard drive, I think at the time. Massive.
Sounds about right, yeah.
My massive 5 gig hard drive, and it filled up real quick.
I still have a lot of that music too.
I have the hard drive out of so the laptop I had, I burned everything onto CDs, and then the desktop I got after that, I loaded it all back into that computer, and I have that hard drive in this drawer. Nice. And it's been on my list of stuff to do that is massive, and it's very low on the priority list to go get one of those USB hard drive starter kits. Mm-hmm. So it just basically turn it into an external hard drive, and I could plug it in, and I could load all that back in. Because there's some stuff that I don't know what it was that I remember really liking, and I can't find it. But I was thinking about it earlier today. It's the way kids consume music today is so sad. It saddens me. It's just a song. And then a song. And then a song. There's no album conversation.
See, I disagree with you there because that's how I consume music.
What?
Just to, like, so
That's how I do it now too.
like but I've always, so coming up when I started liking music, the radio was my entry. And so if you think about it, like that's what the radio was. It was just this song, then another song, then another song. And so like I will get a new CD and I still do this to this day, or album of whatever kind. And like I'll listen to it like start to finish a couple of times. And then I'm like, cool, shuffle. Cause like I like especially I have a sizable amount of music at this point. I enjoy different types of music. I enjoy the randomness of going from the Beatles to death metal and then back and forth and stuff.
There's a line for me. Like I get, like I make fun of some friends of mine that'll be their Spotify list jumps all over the place. Like it's like Taylor Swift to Metallica or something like that. I'm like, what are we doing here, man? Like just like I'm not saying like I have no issues with either. It's just one right after the other. It just gives me a little bit. It's a little jarring for me. Like I have a thing. Like I was I was hanging out with a buddy of mine the other day and. What was it? Oh, Counting Crows. That one Counting Crows song, the big one, was playing in the background.
Long December.
Yeah, there you go.
And so we were kind of like half paying attention to it. And we were talking or whatever, and the song ended, and then he started singing the next song in the album. And I still do that on a lot of albums.
Yeah,
like
me
in
too.
my head, there's a lot of albums that like when the song ends, the next song is in my head.
Yeah.
Like I know this is coming up. But the inverse of it though too, I think maybe to your point, like I don't like making playlists. When I make a playlist, I go like I'll start playing it and be like, okay, cool, and then the next song will come on. I'm like, yeah, not right now. And it's like there's this thing in the back of my head that's like I know there's a song I really want to listen to on this playlist somewhere, and let's kind of keep skipping through or whatever. So like I still like Pandora for that. I like Pandora because it doesn't give you anything. You just kind of got to deal with where it goes. And I do like the randomness of it, and I found some new stuff on it that I didn't know. But then it's also like it's in the wheelhouse of the stuff I do like. But like I like not having any perception of what's coming up.
Yeah, I got you.
Because it
Surprise me.
right, and then also not having the like. I mean, I guess you could skip like I don't pay for Pandora. I just do the free one. You could skip like once, and then it'll go to a commercial. But then after that, you can't skip for like hours. And so it's like you just got to kind of you got to sit in
You
it.
can thumbs down it a few times before you can run out of
That's my other
thumbs
thing
downs.
too. Is I don't thumbs up or thumbs down. I just let the algorithm do its thing. I don't tell it.
I'll do it on occasion. I'm like, I don't really like that song.
I don't give it any info at all. I just let it try to figure me out blindly. So the only thing it gets from me is a skip if I can. But I like the randomness of it. I think that's always been my thing on it. Like I like that, and I still like that about the radio. But I don't listen to radio at all anymore.
I don't know.
I mean, I listen to mostly I listen to podcasts all the time.
Me too.
I don't. I'm listening to. I got my news people, which the breaking points with Giannis. Did you listen to that segment with Giannis? So Giannis character is he's trying to give. He is not a Trump fan in whatsoever, but he's trying to give a charitable interpretation of what Trump's trying to do economically. And he goes back through some of the history of it. It's pretty interesting. You should check that one out. I'll see if I can find it. I'll send it to you again. Because there is some like, and it makes sense because it's some stuff that Nixon did too. Not that Nixon was a very popular president, but as far as the overall U.S. economics thing, it makes sense on trying to kind of reset some of the weirdness that we've got going on. Whether Trump's smart enough to know that, but it's not really a Trump thing. It's that whatever the Treasury Secretary guy's name is. Not the Treasury Secretary.
Federal Reserve?
No. Jerome Powell sucks. I don't like that guy. I don't like the Federal Reserve. I don't think it needs to exist, but that's a whole separate thing. I don't understand. I can't figure out why it needs to exist. Maybe it's a better way to say that.
Scott Bessent? Is that who you're looking for?
No. I don't know. Like I said, I'll have to go. I'll have to make some notes on it to do the show on it because I thought it was really interesting, but then it's like, a couple of rums in, I forgot about it. All right, so back into normal news. What else is normal news? That's it? You had a kid? That was it? Sorry, I just realized that we got sidetracked on...
It's okay.
They bounce and music is cool.
Yeah. I'm terrible at answering that question. Like, what have you been up to? I'm like, my mind goes blank whenever somebody asks me that. Work is a crutch, actually. It allows me to I know how to talk about this thing that I do a lot. I don't know.
I mean, that's what I become with politics. And it sucks because people love to hate politics. And they're like, that's become my big thing. It's like, you get me started on something that I know the ins and outs of and the way Tennessee works on it, I will blow you up.
I can see that.
And I feel really bad. I've cornered a couple people. Maybe I shouldn't have. I had an ABC agent that was out the other day, and I laid into her about how dumb her job is. She thought she agreed the whole time, but I caught a couple of a revenue guy. I caught him one time, and he was not ready for how much I knew. They don't like it when you know more than they do.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought I was going to be able to BS you. Like, shit.
Yeah. All right. How about this? I've got to sit down with Massey and Briggs on Monday. You got anything you need? I can see if I can work for you.
Well, I think we need to. I'd like to see the running the school bus stop sign law toughened a little bit more, which Massey ought to be. She was on board with that last time. Took it from a $50 fine to a $250 fine, but I would like to see it higher than that. But I don't know how high of a priority that's going to be.
I'm big on hanging people from their toes, so I'll see if I'll start there, and we can come back down somewhere in the middle, a little more reasonable in the middle.
Nice, I appreciate that.
That's my Trump negotiating tactics. Start at the top. Yeah, I don't know. I got I got a bunch of stuff that I've got going on specifically, and then I've got just general stuff that I like to talk to them about. Okay, so you can stay out of this one if you want to. You sent me the link to the WBIR story with what a beautiful quote from Briggs.
I didn't read the quote. It was so damn small.
Oh, my God. Okay, so for context for Ryan and all the listeners out there, tonight, as we were taping on Friday night, the 9th of May, there's a what's the word I'm looking for here? A forum, an exclusive, right? An exclusive.
I think they call it a town hall, but
an exclusive private public town hall for Republicans only that is being hosted, and Briggs and some other people were invited to it. And Briggs and this has become the normal for Briggs, and I don't know how to pick this fight without sounding like a dick, but it's like, dude, you're not allowed to say I didn't realize that anymore. And that's what the quote was. The quote was, I didn't realize when I agreed to appear at this thing that they were only letting Republicans into this town hall. And it's like, well, you didn't realize that when you passed the law about banning abortion in the state of Tennessee that it was actually going to become a law. What are we doing, dude? Like, how many times are you allowed to play that excuse? I'm kind of running out of patience for it. Because that's my problem with the conversation. Most of the stuff I'm talking about on Monday is going to be very specific questions about one of his bills that he presented that I know he's not going to have answers to. And it's like, why are you presenting a bill that you don't know what it's going to do?
Is this a staff not giving you enough kind of background on something, or
I can respect the fact that it's just such a perfect in this new era of Republican town hallism where they're scared to do them and they're avoiding them at all costs, that this is somehow going to land well with anybody. That, hey, we did a town hall that you didn't let anybody except your friends in, but we did a town hall. It's like, no, you didn't. You did a Republican meeting. Everybody that already agrees with you is in the room. It's not going to be a very exciting conversation, which I'm not allowed to go to. Well, I mean, I could try to play media and see if they'd let me in.
I think they would even still try to live stream it on something.
Yeah, but I mean, who cares? It's like they're not going to if they don't have to answer any real question, like if they don't have to answer any controversial questions, it's just them blowing each other. What's the point?
You just get some information of what they're supposedly saying they're going to do, or what their plan is on A, B, and C. I'm assuming they're doing a quote unquote town hall for some reason.
I mean, I sat through and listened to Burchett's that he did his virtual one a little while back, and I mean, it's just like every single question was just like, I'm glad you asked. It's like, of course you're glad you asked. Like you prepped him to ask you that question. It's something you wanted to talk about. What are we doing? Like, I mean, it's like, and again, but that's the thing is it's Burchett trying to deflect some of the, I mean, it is like you didn't believe me at the time, and this is my point to say I told you so. This has been a Democratic narrative move that they've been doing since Trump took office. Demand it to go out there and demand a town hall from your local Republican rep, and when they refuse, because they will, we're going to make a big stink about them not holding town halls. And so the Republican attempt to answer that is to put these bullshit town halls together, be like, yeah, we're doing town halls. And it's the Democrats making the point of it. That's why AOC is out there going to town halls in districts that are nowhere near New York. Bernie's been doing them too.
How close town halls? I mean, those are damn near rallies.
Do what?
I said those are rallies.
Well, because
I think they've done a couple town halls in smaller places.
But at least on paper, they're not advertising it as only Democrats are allowed to come.
Right.
I'm sure there's some Republican people coming and trying to at least ask some of those trap questions that people like to do with those kind of things. Probably getting booed down by the crowd before the person even has to try to answer it, but there's They're at least theoretically open. But again, back to the main moral of my like enragement in this whole thing is that I'm about over Briggs's general. I don't know what I'm doing. He doesn't pay attention to what he's being asked to do, and he's doing it over and over again. And it's like, so this is now a pattern. This isn't just a one-off. You know, like you could make the argument on the abortion one that you thought they would never overturn Roe v. Wade, so you didn't have to worry about it. It was just you getting some brownie points from the party so you could do something else later. I could see that argument as if in a one-time thing that you were very surprised that Roe v. Wade got overturned. But I can't. It seems like it's literally you just don't pay attention to what you're doing. I don't know how else to interpret it. And it's not to be mean. It's just that seems like it's what's happening. I don't know how else to look at it. But good catch on that, though.
On what?
On sharing that story with me.
I just happened to catch it. Was I think it was like a pre 4:00 news or whatever. Like, coming up on our live at 4 or whatever. Or this and this, and I was like, huh? Hey, what'd that say? Hold on a second.
A not so public.
I was like, an exclusive Republican only town hall.
A partial town hall. I think it was maybe a partial town hall. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better title for it. We got a new pope, but he's American. That's neat. Is that the first one ever? You're the historian. Yes. We were thinking it was from Chicago.
White Sox fan.
Yeah, it doesn't. Whatever. It's a pope. I don't care. I was so mad on. Was it just yesterday? All that went down.
I think so. Yeah.
Like this is why I hate local media. Is because I got a weather alert. So I got my WBR app. It gives me a weather alert. Again, I'm very bad at turning off notifications thing, apparently. I get a weather alert. I get some Kentucky guy's murder trial. Another weather alert. White smoke. We're going to tell you who it is in a minute. Here's who it is. So I got 6 alerts before 2 o'clock yesterday. 3 of them are on Pope stuff. One of them would have been more than sufficient. Like, I understand there's, like 1 billion Catholics in the world?
Yeah, something like that.
I understand it's a big deal, but I don't care. Like, I really don't care. Does this change anything for me?
You got to turn off your Pope notifications.
Yeah.
Go in and manage that part of the app.
Right. I got
take me off of arts and cultures, yes.
I've got no Middle East news, no German car news, no. Just keep moving down. Oh, there it is, Pope. No Pope. I don't understand. It's the same thing with royal family stuff. Like when what's her face died, and there was the whole pomp and circumstance that is the process. It's kind of fun. It's kind of neat, but it's we're not them because we
made that decision.
We picked a fight to not be them. Is it something? Is it world news? Yes, the Queen died. Is it world news? The new guy that we all knew was going to be king when she finally died, if he didn't die before her. But we know how the succession thing works. We understand. It's a pretty simple process. Okay, cool. Moving on. But I mean, fucking Today Show's over there for a week. They've been today. The NBC Nightly News is from the Vatican. It's what are we doing? Why do it's not
selling ad revenue?
Yeah. Which is our fault. You're right. It's our fault. We're dumb.
Our fault.
This is why I can't get into politics, because I blame voters for everything.
It's a little bit of the nature of the media. They're almost kind of forced to, because I guess they're losing revenue wherever. So they're almost kind of forced to be more kind of catchy and be able to sell ad space.
And I think I've read a lot of stuff about the sort of nationalization of local media, both overtly and covertly. Overtly in the sense that Sinclair Media is buying up local stations, right. And so
Gannett and
exactly.
So there's 4 major ones, pretty much. And so there's a message being pushed down, top down, about these are the things you talk about. But also going back to your points about the internet, Seth. I mean, there's a lot of people that what they see on the internet, what they consume via social media is the things that they care about, and those are more often national issues as opposed to local issues. And so, as you mentioned, Sam, in the quest for eyeballs, that's what local news is going to go after. We're going to show you the things that are going to make you tune into our content, which is going to be less about this local thing that affects your life maybe, and more about this is a large national story that you're going to care about. So you're going to watch our
stupid
program.
Influencers are going to talk about it. And
yeah, I have a friend of my wife's who she's a teacher, and teachers are afforded opportunities in the summer to go be a like she was an air traffic controller for a day. One summer, like she went and worked at the News Sentinel for a day, like helped make newspapers. She's a local news nut and was really excited because she got to go and be with local news for a day. And she was like, this was like the top end for her. And she came out of it really, really like disappointed and disillusioned because in the news meeting, a lot of it was, 6 people sitting around a table talking about what they're going to cover on the 6 o'clock news, reading Facebook. And talking about this story got a lot of engagement here. Do we want to talk about it tonight at 6?
Well, yeah, like I think News Sentinel just put somebody back on city county meetings like a couple months ago. Like they would only come out to a city county meeting if there was something very specific that was it was something that was getting clicks locally at least. They would come out to city meeting if it was some controversial whatever, but other than that, they wouldn't come out to meetings. And they just now they have somebody that is now assignment every local meeting. And it's like, how are you the paper of record locally and you don't have somebody at every meeting?
I wonder if some of it's just kind of due to like budget cuts to where they almost had to just cut out local. They're like, we're getting all this other like national feed that, for this price.
Right. I mean, you could make the logical argument for why they're doing it all day long. I don't acknowledge it as appropriate.
Right. I agree.
But then they get all bent. There's a couple of good reporters that we've got here at News Sentinel and stuff like that. But then they're getting all bent out of shape when Jacobs moved the county contract to what did he move it to? I forgot. He moved it to one of the other papers, one of the smaller. It's like a tri-weekly. There's like 3 printings a week. But so like whenever it's county notices are no longer with News Sentinel like they used to be, because that's state law. When you do stuff. Not the peddler. Focus. Maybe I don't remember. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like the city and the county are obliged to with certain things, like if they're going to do a tax delinquency. What's that?
Notification.
Right. What's the word I'm thinking? When they're right. Basically, when you haven't paid the taxes long enough that they're about to take your property from you, they're obliged.
Notice.
Right. They're obliged to put it out in the paper for a period of time beforehand. And county doesn't do it through News Sentinel anymore.
Yeah, I think I had a roommate that had to go through a little bit of that process as far as he had like a lost title. And I think to, have that declared or okayed by the state, you almost have to like post that car like in the paper as kind of a notification to give other people a chance, to try to claim it.
Yeah, I saw a story
before
about
they're like, oh, yeah, I found this car. I lost the title. Or I have this car. I just don't know where the title is.
I heard a story, like there's the same thing, like there's a story about a lady whose husband just ran off. Like nothing, no word, no nothing, just left. Like as far as she knew, he wasn't dead, but she didn't know anything. He just was gone. And after like a year, she's like, I guess I should go ahead and get a divorce and stuff like that. So she goes through all this process and stuff. And part of the process is she had to put, it was like in multiple papers. Like it had to be like a regional coverage.
Larry, come home, or I'm signing the papers for you.
Right, basically,
Yeah.
So for it get it signed off on his side without him present. Basically, she had to do all this public notification process.
There's something similar. So I mentioned my daughter earlier. So she's adopted. We adopted her from Texas, and there's a requirement. And so adoption law is state by state. And so we adopted in Texas, and we were able to use Texas law, which is a lot more friendly to adoptions than Tennessee state law is. But there's a requirement to publicly notice that this child is going up for adoption, to give a father. Generally, not always, but generally the father a chance to like, oh, hey, that's my kid. I do want to be involved in their life. Don't give them away for adoption. I want to now be the dad. And so in some places it's like it has to run for a month. And you're like the adoption process stops. In Texas, it was like 2 days, I think, or 3 days. It wasn't very long. But yeah, because there's that's also fraught because a lot of times those relationships are not, the dad's not with the mom for a reason. And so like inviting him back into that life or telling him where they are is not always the best thing. But yeah, it's
right. But odds are, especially with only 2 days, that dude's not even going to see it.
Have that legal notice. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not our fault. You don't read the paper, man. What do you want us to do?
Yep.
We did what the state required us to do. Moving on. All right. So I don't know. That went super quick. Anything else? Anything else you want to cover? We got some
buses are running out of time.
Well, some of them.
I don't know, anything specific on the school transportation side that we didn't cover that you'd want to get out there to the all 64 people that regularly listen to us? 65, I'm counting on you now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in.
I know
I
in
gotta
the past
say-
few years, there was, I guess some schools saw it more than others, but it got an increase in fights and whatnot. I guess in the time that you've been there, have you seen any kind of trending upwards or back downwards as far as discipline on the buses? I know you mentioned that was one of the reasons why they put cameras on there to kind of protect
Yeah.
liability of
What
the
a
bus
good-
drivers
like,
as
what
well.
a good journalist questions. Nice.
Not in fights as such. The biggest thing that we've seen, or that I've seen an uptick in, is like the threats. Like threats of mass violence have really skyrocketed in the last few years.
Because it's funny. Not really. I'm just saying, like, in their brains, they think it's funny.
Yeah.
I shut the school down. Ha, 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 ha. Shut the whole school system down. Ha, 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 ha.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not. It's not
Like,
excusing
oh shit!
it.
I got a
but-
felony now.
I mean,
It was a joke. I swear.
I mean, our good friend Kat had to go through it in our era, which I don't know. I think I would argue that our generation was the first to start it. I guess for lack
Yeah,
of a better word.
I think so.
I think
Yeah,
Colin
right
Run
after Colin,
was
Yep.
the one. And I don't know. Like it's one of those. That's a broader educational issue with kids. Like I don't know how we get that thing out. Like that's just one of those things. Because that's what we did as kids. Like this is super taboo. I'm on it. And like the more ridiculously taboo it is, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm a helicopter parent. I ain't gonna lie. I wish I can't stop myself. Like I don't let them out of my sight for super long. And like I'm very wary of who I let them out of my sight to be under their sight with.
Yeah.
And as much as I like to make fun of my mom for a lot of stuff, like well, whatever, just get out of here, go away.
My neck was sore as a parent, just always trying to keep an eye on.
Yeah. And so, like, I don't know. It boggles my mind because I see some parents, like, I know some parents who are just very, just like, well, whatever. Like, I mean, there's this is vaping's my thing. That's my profession, and it boggles my mind how many kids get their hands on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it really does. And it's like the only thing that makes sense is it's at least a portion of his parents who don't give a shit.
And that is a thing I can tell you that has skyrocketed on buses. Not so much fights, but like we were having.
Well, for what it's worth, I can guarantee you they're not getting it from me, and I can even guarantee you that the most of them, they're not getting it from any of the retailers in town. That's online sales 100% of the time. I've got to talk to Briggs about that too, because he's taking it out on local retailers when it's so obvious that it's not coming from local retailers. Like he's making a huge deal about age verification. It's like, it ain't us, man. It never was.
Right.
It's not.
But
back,
it's an easy target.
Yeah, it's not. It's not back when we were kids when smoking was 18 and we all had a friend that was 18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or we knew somebody that was 18 because they were in our friend group. It's like, who the fuck is 22 years old buying a 16, 15, 14-year-old a vape? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you hanging out with them, period? Like, there's a whole litany of questions that he's going that regardless of your poor decision to buy them a vape. You're hanging out with a freaking 14-year-old, man. What are you doing? And then, because obviously, whatever. Anyway, side tangent thing, alas. Like, I don't, again, like my kids, like I wouldn't, like, this is my career is based on this thing. And I would be breaking legs if I catch either of my kids with them.
I think some states have. Is there any talk of putting seatbelts on buses?
There is. There's actually been a law proposed several times, but it hasn't gained any traction. So NHTSA, a couple years ago, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the federal agency that kind of, they get called in when there's a plane or train crash. Right. They also do some commercial motor vehicle regulation and investigations. They came out a couple years ago and said that, seatbelts make people safer, bottom line. And so there's been an occasional push about putting seatbelts on school buses. The biggest resistance has been from smaller districts because, we were talking about bus capacities earlier, like a 90-passenger bus. So that is predicated on putting 3 kids in every seat. So if you can't put 3 kids in, if you put seatbelts on a bus, that means you can only put 2 kids in every seat. So for smaller counties, that means that all of a sudden I lost potentially a third of my capacity on every single one of my vehicles. And so now I need more buses and I can't afford more buses. And so, at least in Tennessee, it hasn't gotten traction because Obion County schools, with all 14 of their school buses, can't afford to go from 14 to 18.
Yeah.
So,
I could, again, going back to the bus driver part, how do you, like, is this like the theme park where you got to go down the aisle once you get started and pull every
I actually
belt
just had
and
that
make
thought. I
sure-
was like, what if they had the big lap bars? Like, that work?
I'm not going to lie to
I'm
you.
assuming the seat belts are just, is it one big lap belt?
No,
Or is it
it-
individual seat belts?
No, it would be individual seat belts. And NHTSA recommends the lap shoulder belts because with just a lap belt, it like a 2-point securement, then kids can still go forward and can still lead to, if they're tall enough, particularly, it can lead to head injuries and neck injuries because they hit the seat in front of them. So it's lap shoulder belts. And yes, the in the places that have implemented it, it is a requirement for the bus driver or the bus assistant to go and check to make sure that kids are strapped in. So there is a time element. I've also heard people say that it cuts down on discipline issues because if kids are belted in, they can't go 3 seats over to try to, hit, Susie on top of the head or whatever. So it makes for like potentially a quieter bus ride. I don't know. It's one of those things that like, I think it's eventually going to happen. Like we're eventually going to have seatbelts on school buses. It's just a question of when. I mean, it's not to say like school buses are still statistically the safest way to get kids to and from school. I mean, we talked about bus construction earlier. I mean, the seats are designed, they don't have seatbelts in them, but the seats are designed to, have kids basically bounce off of them and keep them in their seat, like eggs in an egg carton is usually the example that I hear used. So like they're incredibly safe. They're bright yellow. They're huge. They've got lights all over the place. Like there are lots of safety systems in place that keep buses safe. But I still think that there's always a quest for like, what's next? What's more? What more can we do? And so I think that eventually we're going to get to that point. It just hasn't happened yet.
All right, you want to get weird?
Always.
All right, we're getting weird.
Da Pope. Leo XIV Chicago roots unleash spate of holy humor.
All right.
Thought that was kind of fun. Let's see what else we got here.
Somebody's a Jordan fan too.
Did I saw that?
I mean, he's got to be. I mean, like you got to think he's a Jordan fan too.
I heard the Chicago asked. I guess they were going to ask his brother whether or not he was a Cubs or White Sox fan.
He's a White Sox fan. It's
Yeah.
already on. Apparently, he was at the
09 World
I saw
Series,
some
yeah.
video. There was some video
Really?
talking about the new Pope was here, and it was showing that home run or whatever.
Did you hear about that guy that fell? I don't think he's walking yet, but he came out of like a coma or whatever. I think it was like a Pirates or Phillies game
I think it was
about a week or
Pirates.
so ago. Like
Yeah.
fell from the
I missed that one.
from the stands. I think he was trying to catch a ball. I think saw a couple days later that he was at least like out of the coma or was awake.
That's cool.
Not
No,
so
no
much.
death at the baseball game. I mean, he didn't die.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
yeah.
it's not cool that it happened.
Looking
but
on the bright side there. Glass is half full.
that was my bright side. So to this is how good, this is how positive a person I am. As these tariffs hits and the trucking goes down, we get some more CDLs for our bus drivers. But then some of the 40 traffic will get a little easier. Some of those trucks off the road. See, I'm trying to get the silver lining out of this shit.
Maybe. I think from what I heard, we still got to go like a month or two before.
Before it catches up here, yeah.
Yeah.
I did say like nightly news again. I think it was on Thursday night I was watching, and they said the Port of Seattle on Wednesday had 0.
Wow.
Like shipments to unload or whatever.
Yeah, it's 0. And it's like, it's Seattle. It's not like Long Beach or anything. But I'm going to guess that like 1 was a bad day for them normally. Like probably 10 was probably a bad day for them.
I can't remember if
0.
it was Breaking Points or another. They were interviewing the head of, I guess, the Long Beach port.
Yeah.
And he was talking about they were pretty much down like 50%, which, like we were saying, kind of cascades down to those other like transit people that are, unloading the shipping containers, putting the containers onto other trucks. So you've got the trucks from there, trucks that are taking them to trains, etc.
Yeah, I still want to try to get the operations director from Axel to come on and chat with him about it. See where they're taking it. They're in a big old bind because they just opened that building, and they were just about to start, or they'd already started hiring to fill that building, and they're going to get a little slowdown in business, which sucks because they're great because they sponsor everything. I don't know. I think every single Knox County school gets a check from them.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, their banners on every school that I drive by on a regular basis, at least.
I don't think I've seen it. I don't know what their logo looks like.
It's a delta. It's a fancy looking triangle.
Right.
All right, one more.
Got former NBA great Paul Pierce says he walked 20 miles to work in a robe as punishment for guaranteeing a Celtics win. Because he was so confident in Game 2 against the Knicks, he said he would walk to work barefoot, quote unquote, in my robe if they lost for a second straight game in the second round. If the Celtics lose Game 2 at home, I promise you I am walking here tomorrow, he declared on a FS1 show Wednesday. I guarantee this one. Put the house on this game. That didn't turn out so great. The Celtics blew a 20-point lead in Game 2 as they did in Game 1.
I feel like if you guarantee it that hard, it's a guarantee the other way.
Yeah, you've jinxed it.
B, you don't put stuff. You just don't do stupid stuff like that. You don't say it.
20.2 mile commute to work in the L.A. area. He posted updates on Instagram Live.
I think the bathrobe is really the icing on the cake in that one.
They said he did make the wise choice of not walking barefoot, but bathrobe, yes.
Was that part of the deal, or is he
Yeah.
just goes okay? I was
That's
confused
what
on
he
what
agreed to do.
I didn't catch that in the guarantee.
He said, all right, it's time for me to get stepping, he said after 5 a.m. Pacific time, calling himself, quote unquote, man of my word.
I mean, if you're going to make the dumb bet, you got to pay the dumb bet. I like it.
I can't believe the Celtics got me out here like this, dog. He said in a later update, I'm really walking out here like this.
How many hours? That's got to be.
Let's see here.
What you're doing? 15 miles, 15 times 20.
So he posted another video saying he arrived to work at around 1 p.m. So he left at 5
a.m.
Yeah,
so
about 6 hours.
8 hours?
8 hours, yeah.
7, 8, 9 hours. Anyway, all right, that's the show, everybody.
Math.
The math. All right, so this episode will be titled "Sam Does Math," and that's what it's going to be. That's where we're at. So, if you made it this far, you understand the episode title now. Almost in agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, go to the website, almostinagreement.com. Check what we're going to do on the Hallaroo is next week. Come out. We're going to have a sweet rock show that is preceded by a wonderful soapbox derby. Some carnage is probably likely, and that's why we do it. So, almost agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, hallaroo.co. Check out there. Make your plans to come down to the Happy Holler and hang out with us. It's going to be a good time. On that same note, as I will probably be a shorter show next week because I got to get some sleep because I got a big day ahead of me. So, anyway, we're almost agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all your favorite podcast providers. Like, friend, share, follow, text this to somebody, and tell them how much fun you had listening to this mess. Thanks to Ryan. This is super fun to catch up both professionally because I'm a dork like that, but also it's been a long time and that's really cool anyway. So, anyway, almost agreement. Bye, everybody.